very excited to get started this Saturday. We'll practice on Saturday, and then we're going to come back and practice Tuesday and Thursday of the following week, and then go into spring break from there, come back and have our last 11 practices, and then the spring game.
News team, assemble!
It's time for the Unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Featuring site publishers Carey Murdoch and Josh McCuistion, along with videographer Eddie Radosevich. It's the Unofficial 40 on Soonerscoop.com.
All right, welcome back. It is the Unofficial 40. I am Carey Murdoch, along with Josh McCuistion and Eddie Radosevich. The Sooner Scoop crew is back at it, even though I can't talk, and I've been sick all week and haven't slept much, and I'm fired up because it is finally spring football. Football is back in our lives. We no longer have to just settle for that shit show that they call Oklahoma basketball.
What happened?
Did you
Are
black
they
out?
playing? Have they been playing?
Your favorite player, Kadeem Lattin, did not play well in the Big 12 tournament.
Well, that's surprising. That's shocking.
Shocker,
to me.
I know.
Yeah.
They don't seem to care.
No, it's insane. I still don't think I can wrap my head around the idea that this team could probably not play in the NCAA tournament. I mean, Alabama's beating Auburn right now. They're on as the biggest bubble that you've ever seen, and it will be very interesting. I actually have taken it a step far as to say I don't understand how they could get in losing, what was it, 8 of 10 and 11 of 15, and they're going to let them in the NCAA tournament? It's like there's almost a sanctity of the NCAA tournament that's being like crushed.
I think
if they let Oklahoma in.
I think they'd be like 2 of 8 if they played like 5 more games or something.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things too. It's like they fit that bill of a team that has there's no way that they should be in the tournament.
No.
And they'll end up winning a game or something just because they shouldn't be there. That's how crazy this season has been. But I don't think that they really will win a game. So.
I hope they don't get in. I know it's blasphemy.
I know, it's crazy.
I know people are like, they had a good season. They deserve to get in.
They didn't have a good season, first off.
They had half
high
of a
as a kite.
season. They had half a season, and they haven't done anything since.
It's insane. It will be as close to a like all-out Civil War riot if Oklahoma gets in and Oklahoma State doesn't on Sunday.
I just want to welcome you guys to the dark side of saying a team you don't want them there. I'm excited for you to join me in this bandwagon.
We're not in your category.
You have to play in a national championship if you
Josh,
can.
you don't even
you
try
win a
and
national
lump us
title
in it.
without playing in the tournament.
I still get
You're
crap
foregoing it
from your hot take that it was better to go play in a crap bowl and win.
They wouldn't play in the Sugar Bowl. It wasn't a crap bowl.
Is that what it was?
It was that they shouldn't go to the college football playoff. That was
it was.
This is a 2014. This is a 2014
They were better served
argument.
to go play in the Sugar Bowl, get a nice win, and have momentum rolling into the next year, rather than yet again getting just pounded on national television in the playoff.
You were so wrong.
They were not ready for those teams. Whether they played Clemson or they played Alabama, they were going to get massacred.
Every year, there's really 2 teams that aren't ready to be in that. This year, there was only one.
Yep.
And that was Clemson.
Yep.
It's kind of like one of those things.
Surprisingly.
Going back to the Final Four, I'd rather see a team lose by 50 in the Final Four.
But
every
Ohio
year.
State has been that team that wasn't ready to be in that game.
Yeah.
You still want to be in that game.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
God, I really didn't mean for us to go back down this rabbit hole. I was having a little bit of fun.
I'm glad that we are, because you have no idea how much crap I take from people that try and say that I was the one that said that stuff. And it was
definitely me. Anyone listening, it was definitely me. But the reality is Ohio State hasn't had this happen to them time and time. This was the first year when Oklahoma on a big stage showed up and played a good game. Frankly, it didn't go their way. That's fine. We all know that. But OU had every argument to say they belonged in that game, and they probably should have won that game.
And they probably should have won a national title.
Yeah, you definitely can make that case.
But I'm going to say this.
No way.
And if you go back and watch that game, the offense is as much to blame as anybody. It's not a stick up for Mike Stoops thing. I'm just saying the offense made some horrible decisions down the stretch in that game.
The problem with that argument is everybody focuses on like the second half. Well, okay, Georgia ran wild in the first half, and the offense was clicking, and it made Georgia having a pretty good offense.
Oh my God, dude, let's just stop.
Seem like nothing.
Let's just stop. Let us not go back in time.
Okay, I agree.
That was not the argument anyway. We got so off track. It was about whether or not you want to. If you're that fourth team and you're just not as good, you still want to be in that playoff. I'm sorry.
No brainer.
I just want to thank everybody that thought they were walking into a sleepy podcast. Now I've got the guys going. We're ready to roll now.
This is what the basketball season has done to us.
Wound everybody up. Yeah.
But I will say this. I mean, okay, so moving on to spring football, because there's no reason. Unless Oklahoma somehow ends up in the Sweet 16, that's the only way that we're talking about them on this podcast.
If that happens,
the NIT's available. If that could happen.
No, talking about somewhere you don't want to be, you should just completely turn down an NIT.
Absolutely.
Invite. Oklahoma should not be playing in the NIT. That's for George Mason.
Actually,
that's for those schools.
For everyone that's upset with Trae Young, that would be the worst ending possible for him, is to just lose at home in the NIT.
Oh, he shouldn't play in the NIT. If they were to take a NIT bid, he should tell everybody, I'm out.
Be like the players that say they're not playing in a bowl game.
Absolutely. I would support him 100% on that.
I'm just leaving to prepare for my NBA future.
He should call his teammates losers. I'm not playing in that tournament with these losers. Should be the
yeah. Well, I mean,
cannot
the
convert
first
on
round,
an assist for me.
The first round of the NIT against Liberty equates to what? I mean, like, I can't even think of a bowl that bad.
It'd be like playing in the Liberty Bowl against Southern Miss.
A 5-7 Southern Miss.
More like Northern Illinois, and then they beat you.
Oh,
that'd be so bad. That'd be so bad.
Or what's the Little Caesars Bowl in Detroit?
Oh yeah,
that would
be
depressing.
They play on like December 6th.
That would be depressing. Yeah, that bowl game where like basically you go practice for a week and then you play in a bowl. Those are the saddest of all.
Although
the bowls.
it does sound like the Bahamas Bowl was quite fun this year. I remember
I would totally
reading some of that.
Totally take everyone.
And they didn't have like security or anything. It was like BYOB into the game and stuff.
Yeah.
It sounds awesome.
It's the Bahamas. Sure,
we are on the same page there, Eddie. I was going to ask, like, how good of a bowl would it have to be for you to say, I'd rather go there than the Bahamas Bowl?
Do you think in the post game, like up in the press box, that they would just bring weed for the reporters for the post game?
That'd be awesome.
Oh God. Hey, I'll be a beat guy for that week, Carey.
That would be.
I would let you.
I would think, Josh. I don't know. I think that we have set the precedent with Soonerscoop.com. The Russell Athletic Bowl, I think, is the that's the lowest bowl that we cover.
God,
and we
for
didn't
people
even
out there
cover that.
listening, I talk to Carey and Eddie every year after the bowls, just like we do any time of year, but I have never seen two human beings so beaten down by life.
Eddie didn't even go.
I
wouldn't
Oh,
let
that's right.
Eddie
That's
go.
right. That's right. It was just
I
Carey.
wouldn't pay
That's right.
for Eddie to go. I said, this bowl is bullshit, and I was almost dead. I had the flu so bad.
I mean, people showed up, but I guess
Yeah,
the team didn't
Clemson
show.
people.
Yeah,
Cole Stout showed
They were
up.
fired. I mean, that was Clemson. That was a totally different era of Clemson football. They were so
really
fired
was.
up just to play Oklahoma. Remember, they went and put the little tombstone in there and celebrated it like it was the biggest win in program hit. I mean, that literally was one of the biggest wins in their program's history at that point in time.
They have. I would say they've elevated themselves since then.
Dabo Swinney, you've done a good job.
And did you think that was a joke of a hire when it was made?
I just thought it was a cheerleader.
I thought he would be a train wreck.
But he had Chad Morris and he had Brent Venables.
Yeah, that's
it says a lot. I mean, that's almost like and we've talked about this before. I've got some friends at LSU, like in the athletic department, and there were really strong rumors that Orgeron almost got Lane Kiffin to come and be his offensive coordinator
this year.
As Kiffin, last year when Orgeron was hired.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. He was going to get him to be the OC along with obviously Aranda as his DC. that's almost good enough to overcome Ed Orgeron. Like those two together, you're like that. Those guys probably win a lot of football games. Obviously now we can see that's not what happened with Dabo. Dabo is a good coach. He's kind of a caricature of himself, I think, publicly. But, like I said, that's kind of what I thought. I thought this guy is too much of a player's coach. He's too close. They're not going to have any discipline. But he like I said, he's one of the premier 2 or 3 guys in the whole country.
They've done really well, but, they still the Lawrence kid, was it Trevor? Or
Yeah.
Tracy?
Yeah. Trevor.
I'm not.
Fabio.
Every time I've seen that guy in a big stage, it hasn't been pretty. Like everybody loves that kid and his arm and his ability.
Are we about to have World War II or World War III?
I'm just saying, the U.S. Army game, he was terrible.
Yeah,
he was really bad in that game, and I can't explain it.
The kid that went to Georgia destroyed him in the 7-on-7 stuff.
Justin Fields.
Opening stuff, yeah, Justin Fields.
I've said it before. He's the best high school quarterback I've ever watched. Like the way the ball comes out of his hand and all the. Because the thing that people like, you see Trevor Lawrence and Carey, I know where you're going to go with this.
Unathletic.
That's an unathletic head,
yeah,
for sure. But you watch his tape. He's not a big stiff guy. He can really move around.
No,
he's a good athlete.
He can, but I also see a guy that just crumbles and tries. It's almost like he's trying to impress. I worry about his mental makeup, not about his physical abilities.
I think there could be something. The guys that always concern me at quarterback, and I felt this way going way back, and I think it started and everybody thought, oh, this is just Josh being an angry recruiting reporter because he's not getting his interviews. When a quarterback does not want to be front and center of his class, that always concerns me. Like, that guy should be almost the minute he commits, I want to do interviews, I want to start getting our name out, we want to talk about OU football to anybody that wants to listen. Like, that. To me, that's the kind of guy that you build your program around. Like, that's Deshaun Watson. That is Baker Mayfield. Those guys are all in on what their program is. And I remember the guy that started this belief in me was Gunnar Kiel, because he didn't want to talk to anybody. He was super shy about everything. He just wouldn't do any, like, to the point of deliberately, like he would set up an interview and then not speak to me for weeks. And it just went on. Trevor Knight's another good example. And Trevor's a good kid, and I like him and all those sort of things. But there's something to be said for the guy that wants to be a leader. Like, just from word go, this is my team, this is my class, I'm going to lead this thing. So
Chris Robinson.
Yeah. No.
Well, we already know that the major red flag there was when he was wearing yellow sunglasses to photo shoots.
Well, and to be fair, Chris never really wanted to talk either. I just knew him well enough to be like, come over here. We're gonna do this.
You're talking to me.
Yeah. Like a lot of guys I'm kind of sensitive with, but I'm just like, nope, you're doing this thing. I've known you since you were a freshman. Get over here.
So Trevor Lawrence, great ability.
Yeah.
Not an outgoing personality and unathletic head. So two out of 3 strikes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Can the ability overcome the unathletic head and not natural inclination towards the camera?
Like, that's the other thing. Like, was USC so terrible at quarterback? Well, Max Brown. I mean, God, he's another guy that wasn't outgoing.
Yeah,
it was just an unathletic head.
Max would talk to you, but he was very uninteresting. Like, he was very vanilla.
He was like a high school version of Landry Jones.
Yeah, that's a really good way to say that. Yeah.
And just
but
an
I mean,
ugly
like,
human being.
Like, for Sam Darnold to become like their hero, and then for us to watch him and realize this kid really makes a lot of bad throws and bad decisions. Like, I don't know if Sam Darnold was ever as good as he got made out to be, just because he was made into the savior of USC football, or the guy that was going to get them back on track. Yet USC, they were never better than Washington. I mean, and I don't think, was it Jake Browning or Jacob Browning?
Jake Browning.
I don't think he's a very good quarterback.
If you put that guy in the Big 12, he'd just be another dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd be. No, but and you know the funny parallel between the two guys that you're making, Carey, Sam Darnold was literally awful at the Army week.
Was he?
I want to say he was like 125 in the country and was so bad I think he fell out of the 250. So
But
you may be onto something there.
Look at the combine, though. Look where the quarterbacks were from. I mean, that kid from Nebraska was one of the better-looking kids at the combine. He was a terrible college quarterback.
People love
You talk about a turnover machine.
Yeah,
Watch that game against Oregon.
Lee, is that his name?
Tanner Lee.
Tanner Lee. He's terrible.
Not much of a fan.
I mean, he's not as bad as Wisconsin's quarterback.
Tanner Lee will be I guarantee you, though, he'll end up being like a 10-year backup.
He looked great at the combine.
He'll be a 10-year backup. He'll never be a guy that plays a whole lot, but he'll just be he's a Landry Jones is what he is. He's a poor man's Landry Jones.
I mean, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing to me. Like, everybody is so like Josh Allen. I think he could be a huge bust just because that crop is so shitty.
Yeah.
It's a shitty crop of It's a shitty crop of receivers too. Like, what the hell has happened? I thought 7-on-7 was supposed to be taking on the world, taking over the world. Why do we have shitty quarterbacks and shitty wide receivers at the NFL Combine, the highest of highs?
It's a really soft year.
They're just weak.
What quarterbacks are out there in college football though? We're like, I can't wait till that kid comes out. I mean, we're starting over in college
I think everybody
football.
on the West Coast just loves Josh Rosen.
Well, the kid at Arizona, Khalil Tate.
Yeah.
But my God, it's not like there's just all these great quarterbacks waiting in the wings to become the next Heisman winner.
Here's the question. Of these guys in this class, who's the guy you'd bet on to become not like a good player. If you were going to say this guy's going to have a Hall of Fame career, who's the guy you'd bet on to these quarterbacks?
None of them.
Save my money.
No, I'm saying you got to pick one. You have to pick one.
I mean, I think anything.
I'm taking Baker out of the running. I don't want anything to. I'm still shooting my shot with him on the podcast. I sent another one this week. I don't think he wants to come on the podcast because he knows we're going to dick around and he'll probably say something he regrets.
That's fair.
I wouldn't if I.
He's going to wait till he's got that contract signed.
Hotbox him at the pro day.
Oh, no doubt.
What's wrong with you? Put drugs in his bag.
No, but I mean, of all those kids. By the way, did you read the? Have you been keeping up with the Sports Illustrated stuff that they've been doing on Baker? Really good. Like they did the 7th part today.
Oh, with the Monday morning quarterback stuff. Yeah. I read part of it.
The stuff today, like the Browns GM, when he went into the to their hotel room where he was met with them, the GM first thing he blurts out is, "So you like food trucks?" I thought that was genius.
Now what?
Baker said it to him, or he said it to Baker?
The GM, as Baker walked in the room, he goes, "So you like food trucks?"
Oh, the GM said that to Baker.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
And everybody apparently just started laughing.
Baker should have said, you like losing."
No.
Draft me.
I don't think that's what he should say or ever say.
Well, he can if they don't draft him, number one.
This coming from a man who has never... Did you ever interview for a job, Eddie?
Yeah, with ESPNU.
And you didn't take it because you said it sucked.
I didn't want to move to Charlotte.
And cut up video?
Yeah.
Well, good.
So I just stayed in Norman and cut up video.
Good choice because they shuttered that whole operation.
Yeah, I know. They did. They definitely did.
You could have got away with a lot of sexual harassment, though.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been on the ground floor with Jen Brown. That would have worked. Might have a sexual assault charge, but hey,
they would have covered it up for you. It's ESPN.
That's true.
No, but back to your question, Josh. Here's the thing. Like, there was not a great group of quarterbacks, and I thought it was a perfect opportunity for somebody like Mason Rudolph to shine, and he was just very average.
He just is average. Like people love his size and want Mason Rudolph to be something he's just not.
He doesn't have a great arm.
No.
He's not accurate.
It's that intermediate throw that he just cannot throw. He cannot make that pass.
His arm is not strong enough to make out route throws.
It's really weird. Like that's the most shocking thing out of this whole I guess, season, or not most shocking, but that was it just repeatedly is just mind-blowing that he can't make that throw.
And then I thought
Spikes
that
it on
I
the
was
ground.
offended by the whole Lamar Jackson thing. I really was. That is just...
Yeah, I heard you on the radio. You think it's racist, right?
I think it's stereotypical, and I think it's racist tendencies for people to say... And it wasn't coming... I mean, NFL Network said, hey, we checked with all the GMs. They've all got him as quarterbacks on the board. So was that coming from the media? Was that coming from other scouts trying to... Because they like Lamar Jackson, and they're trying to put doubt out there that he might not be a quarterback? But the media just ate it up.
Yeah. Well, it's a talking point, and they can spend multiple
But I mean,
segments.
for you to sit there and repeat it like that so easily and believe it, so the guy won a freaking Heisman Trophy. Did you see the rant that Chris Sims, of all people, had on it?
No.
Basically saying that at Louisville under Petrino, he ran a more pro-style offense than any quarterback in this draft. Chris Sims, of all people, was the guy that came to his defense basically saying, yeah, you people are a bunch of racists, trying to say that he needs to be a wide receiver. I found the whole thing comical.
Well, it's just funny that, like, I don't think that... I can't remember... Why didn't any... Well, this might be a poor argument, but why didn't anybody ever say, like, Johnny Manziel should be a wide receiver?
Well, that was the thing. It's like Josh Allen has just as many accuracy issues as anybody.
Yeah.
Why did anybody want to see him work out as a tight end?
Anybody ask Baker to work out in the slot?
Yeah, no.
It definitely is... it's an interesting...
But Josh, I mean, you asked the question. You tell me who you're going to put all your money on.
I'd probably put it on Josh Rosen. That would be my bet if I was going to pick a guy in this class. I just think he has more arm talent than any of the other guys, and I think he's shown an ability in tough situations to make plays. People forget that offensive line at UCLA was awful. I mean, just awful. He was running for his life all year before he got hurt. I mean, hell, there's a reason he got hurt. He can just do some things with the ball, and I mean, he is what you draw up as a pro-style quarterback. Like, I think probably if I'm going to compare him to somebody, it would be like a Drew Bledsoe or something like that. Like, and I'm not saying Bledsoe's a Hall of Famer. I'm just saying to kind of give you an idea of that big kind of statuesque guy. But he can move around a little better than that. But he would be my pick.
Since we're on the topic of the Combine, I'm going to play for you what Lincoln Riley said about Orlando Brown's Combine performance yesterday.
Well, I mean, the thing with Orlando, would I have expected that he would have tested a little bit better than he did? Yes. And I think he will here next Wednesday. With that being said, Orlando's never going to be a great test guy. That's just, some guys got their deals. I mean, I can't count how many football players that I've seen throughout the years that are unbelievable in the weight room. I mean, just freaks in the weight room. They can do all this weight and all this and that, and then you go toss them on a football field and they can't play dead. And so I get it. I know they want to test their physical skills, but what that guy's gifted at is playing tackle and playing football. And so I told them to keep the main thing, and train hard and be ready to put your best foot forward on pro day. But the most important thing is that film. And, you know, he can run whatever. I know he's disappointed, wants to run better, and he'll run better here this Wednesday. But I think that tape didn't go away. You go click on tape against Georgia, Clemson, Auburn, Ohio State, and see a guy that is one of the best tackles in the game, and he's going to be, I feel like, when he gets to the next level as well.
Here's my question, like, what's worse? Is it worse for a quarterback to be short or for an offensive tackle to be that unathletic looking during drills?
I think it's probably being that unathletic. I mean, he lost millions of dollars. I think he dropped out of the first round for sure. Josh?
I would probably go with a quarterback being too short. I mean, obviously it's relative. Are we talking about a guy that's 6'1"? Are we talking about a guy that's 5'10", whatever. But at the same time, my biggest problem with Orlando wasn't the testing, like the times and stuff. I don't care about that. I mean, I think in a 40, all that I care about for an offensive lineman is the first 10. That's all that matters. But the problem with everything is it looks like he didn't work. Like, what's he been doing for the last couple of months? Because
and if his times are that much better at OU's Pro Day, everybody's going to be like, what were you doing leading up to the Combine?
Yep. And that's it. Just, I mean, like everybody's like, oh, the bench press isn't a good measurement of strength. I don't even disagree with that. That's fine. But it's a statement of what you've been doing, the work you've been putting in. And I know he's got long arms, and I'm one that certainly accounts for that. And I think all you need to do is get to like 20, and he's fine. Whatever. No big deal at that point. But 14, that's just shockingly bad.
Didn't Neela have like 12?
12.
Cassatoni?
Yeah.
I'll put it this way. Orlando Brown got outlifted by Ben Grogan, Oklahoma State's kicker, at the Combine.
Well, he didn't get outlifted by Jordan Thomas because he had 4.
Jordan Thomas had the
weirdest Combine.
Well, the weirdest, like, just
career.
Year, 4 years, whatever you want to call it. But the guy, he leaves the Combine with a Combine record, but somehow...
he obliterated the record.
It makes no sense to me. His entire career makes no sense to me. I mean, it is.
It's bizarre.
It's bizarre. That's the best way to put it. I mean, somebody's going to take a chance on Orlando, and I don't think it's crazy to say that Orlando's going to have a good NFL career still. But boy,
if you're Jordan Thomas, you probably. I mean, I know that. You know, that Oklahoma State game came around, and you had to be thinking to yourself, these guys have ruined my career. But in essence, they saved his career by letting him play as long as they did, by not benching him sooner.
You know, I heard that he is now going by JT Thomas at the Combine. He was telling everybody his name's JT.
Like Jaytee, like in his Twitter.
I have no idea. That's a good question. I saw it as J, the letter J and T. Mm-hmm. But I think that's smart because all these NFL teams will start looking for JT Thomas video. And they won't be able to find it. So maybe he's smarter than everybody else.
They'll figure it out. He's Jordan Thomas.
We can only find Jordan Thomas video.
And that guy couldn't possibly be at the Combine because he's awful on tape.
Yeah, exactly. He's the smartest man in the room, possibly.
Well, Pro Day's coming up
Wednesday
this week. It's going to be interesting.
It will be. I think it's just going to be interesting seeing for the first time, in kind of a small way. It'll be the first time that we see Benny Wiley kind of out and about in the world.
But I don't think Mark Andrews will do any testing. He'll just do drills.
Yeah.
Baker will just throw, unless he wants to run a 40 again. Which I can't imagine he loves having a 4.81 or whatever it was. I don't know what his official ended up being.
Should we bill it up as the make or break day for Joanne Orso?
I think there's going to be 18 people participating, not all OU people. I would imagine there's going to be some head coaches there.
I would think so. They had
Mike Zimmer was there last year. One.
It's always interesting.
We've seen Mike McCarthy over the years.
There's no bigger football guy than the coaches that run the
those are
like
football
the workouts.
Guys. Yeah.
Jonathan Hayes usually comes back and runs it, doesn't he?
It's one of the Hayes brothers.
We'll just call him Jonathan. I think it's one of them.
His brother, does he work for Cincinnati still?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as long as Marvin Lewis is there.
So it's usually the same guys kind of running the drills. But I would think that Jeff Badette would be there.
Yep.
Stephen Parker, obviously.
Yeah.
He'll get he'll do everything. Now they're going to do it at the new indoor, so they'll be on the plate thing. They'll be doing the laser time 40s. So they'll have it like flash up on the screen when they run. So it's going to be cool.
Malcolm Kelly come back and run. He should be the first guy to run.
I think he's coaching now.
Just break it in. He's at Houston, right? Is that right?
Somewhere
down there.
Somewhere in Texas. So yeah, I mean, Pro Day coming up. We got spring practice starting Saturday.
Yeah. Get
to go out, do some film and video. Get you some photos. Get to see some stuff. Let's get some Lincoln Riley back on the podcast here because you heard from him on the opening of the show. But really, kind of the major topics when we talked to him yesterday at his press conference, obviously the quarterback battle, but we went back and we talked about Josh and his declaration that OU should not have gone to the college football playoff. They would have been better off going to a good bowl and winning it. But
for the record, last year, 2 years ago, not this year.
Right.
Just before I get any angry Twitter feed.
Oh, it's coming.
Fine, bring it. I have fought this argument before.
It'll be directly from me. So, but, I mean, the thing about after they played in that college football playoff game where they got beat handily by Clemson, they come back that next year. They don't have Eric Stryker. They don't have Charles Tapper. They only have they lose Sterling Shepard. They lost Ty Darlington. I mean, that was really a team void of any leadership whatsoever. I mean, Baker Mayfield was it. On defense, they had nothing. They had Oboe.
And that was before Oboe.
Who hadn't he hadn't even been a full-time starter up to that point.
Right.
Like, he was still a project. And, I mean, you lose. I think they lost. They had Jordan Evans coming back. And he kind of became one of their leaders. But they start out that season 1-2. Lose to Houston to start the season at Ohio State. And it was obvious how big the leadership void was. And Lincoln Riley talked about that some this week.
So you got to do a lot of things. You've got to first identify who on your team that you think can lead. You've got to teach them how to lead. You've got to push them out of their comfort zone to do it more and more. You've got to make guys realize that, a year ago you were either in high school or you were maybe on this team listening to somebody else, always looking to somebody else. Now they're all looking at you, and it's a different perspective for them. So you've got to teach them, and then you've also got to put them in different situations where their leadership's required, whether it's good, whether it's adverse situations, whatever it is. So that's definitely a point of emphasis for this team and this program right now. We know to be the team we want to be and make the run that we want to make, that we have to have great leadership year in and year out. We've got some really intriguing young potential leaders. I mean, guys, I think they're going to be great at it, but we need them to be great now. And so that'll be just as important, if not more important, than how we develop them on the field.
And, you start going down the list of guys, this guy could be a leader, that guy could be a leader. And we round-tabled this a little bit, too. Mm-hmm. And one of the names that I think we all brought up was Caleb Kelly. Here's the problem. Caleb Kelly's not going through spring practice because he had off-season shoulder surgery.
Yeah, I think that in a way, though, you can cultivate that or develop that even by not practicing, just being out there, being a guy that is always talking, being a guy that, I guess, just a blunt way, just leading. But I don't know. It's strange, definitely, that they lose so many guys. I think that, the freshmen, that redshirt freshman group or the sophomore group is where you're going to really, I think, start kind of turning the button or pushing the button on those guys.
You've got to have, like, freshmen and sophomores. I mean, It's like if you're CeeDee Lamb, you really don't have a choice. If you're Kenneth Murray, you really don't have a choice. I mean, Parnell Motley has no choice. He has to be a leader. I mean, if Jordan Parker ends up starting, which he very well could, and he'll practice some, but he'll be limited. I mean, he's a guy. I mean, anyone that's basically played, those are your leaders because that's all you have. Caleb Kelly is the most veteran player on that defense.
I know we're throwing a lot on his plate.
Than Motley.
And he hasn't played a game. He hasn't even suited up a game.
Buki.
But Buki is one of those, I think it's one of those personalities. That's kind of who I picked in that round table. It just seems like he has one of those personalities that he can step in, and when he talks, people are going to listen.
Well, I mean, the other thing is you need your quarterback, and you need to know who your quarterback is. But really, I mean, I think Austin Kendall kind of has a little bit of a fire there. A little bit kind of like when he came talk shit on the Ohio State game.
And then
got in a lot of trouble.
Like a boss.
Then, went into, it's like a turtle going back into a shell. They wouldn't let him talk. And then when he finally did talk, You could tell it was kind of one of those, I blame the media for this.
Yeah, I think he has a little...
When we didn't have anything to do with it.
Nobody's ever going to get close to Baker, I don't think. He set the bar pretty high, but I think that both Kyler Murray and Austin Kendall kind of carry themselves in a manner that you would like your quarterback to do.
Kyler's got swagger, but it's more coolness.
Kyler is fig jam. You know what that means?
Explain it.
Mark it because it has a cuss word in it. I'm good, just ask me. That's what people call Phil Mickelson. Little golf humor.
I like that. Fig jam.
I think that I think that you can have that. When you're one of the best quarterbacks of all time to come out of the state of Texas, you get to carry yourself in that manner. And I think that's kind of goes into the reasoning why I don't think that him playing baseball this spring is that big of a deal. Because just the way he carries himself, I think, will translate to the guys around him.
Here is Lincoln Riley on the quarterback battle.
You know, first thing I'd say, there's zero assumptions in our building. So all that on the outside is what it is. It's noise. You know, it has nothing to do with this competition. Austin's, I think, just motivated to come compete. I mean, that's what I actually met with him the other day, and I said, hey, this is why you came all the way from North Carolina to come to Oklahoma, was to have a chance to be the guy here, and this is a great opportunity. Last year really benefited him. He is the healthiest that he's ever been. He's in the best shape from a strength perspective that he's ever been. And then just the value of day in and day out going against our defense every single day, being able to really push himself off the field because he wasn't saving up for a game. You just see a difference with the kid right now. There's no doubt. He's in a... You know, he did a great job for us as the backup 2 years ago, especially in a tough situation as a true freshman. But he is in a great place right now to go compete and make a serious run at that, as are Tanner Schaefer and Kyler. I mean, I told him the other day I could care less who it is. I just want him to be good.
And that was kind of Riley addressing the fact that a lot of people have penciled in Kyler Murray as the starter already. And you know, if you're Lincoln Riley, what are you going to do? Those are your quarterbacks. You got to keep them happy. You got to keep them engaged. You got to keep them on campus. He wants competition, just like everybody wants competition, to try and make everybody else better. And you need bodies on campus to do that.
How much do you think? There's two things that stood out to me from that quote. One, his inclusion of Tanner Schaefer screams how paper thin they are at quarterback. We want Tanner Schaefer thinking he's involved in this conversation too.
He's done that from the beginning, though. Like ever since, he's always included.
I think he sees a lot of himself
Schaefer.
in Tanner Schaefer almost.
Probably so.
Canadian Texas, West Texas.
I was going to say it makes sense. Yeah. Secondly,
what is he like? Plus 1,500 or worse on the betting
line
scale. Maybe plus 3,000
yeah,
to win the starting
plus
job.
3,000.
Which it almost, I mean, he's the kind of guy that it's worth laying the $3 bet just to see if, something comes in. So, because if not, what do you hurt? But the other side of that is
some Powerball tickets today or some Mega Millions, whatever.
Are we on that right now?
It's like 300 million.
Oh, man. Yeah. I need to do that.
Guys, the other side of that is when is the date when you don't want to announce a starter by? Like, I don't even, like, if Kyler Murray comes out and is dominant, you don't want to rush to that.
Oh, no.
Because you want Austin Kendall to stay around. You don't want to give him, like, clearly you're not taking this job. So when does OU do that? Do they run that all the way out into two-a-days, just even if they know?
I think they
just
will.
For the sake of...
Yeah, I think part of it is just hoping. If you're Lincoln Riley, you hope that Kyler Murray doesn't run away with the job. Like, yeah. But, I mean...
Is that
really that's up to Austin Kendall. I mean, he's got to come out and perform well. I mean, because those kids know, and if he comes out, like the last real quarterback battle that we had where nobody really knew was when Trevor Knight beat out Blake Bell, and we were all kind of shocked that Trevor Knight won that job.
The good news about Austin Kendall is, I'm trying to think the numbers right. He will graduate this year, won't he? Like he could, with that extra redshirt year now, having taken that, he would have more than 2 years to grad transfer, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a sophomore in eligibility this year.
Okay.
Yeah, this is only his third year, so if he graduates this year, he's ahead of schedule.
He's pretty smart. I don't know. that's true or not. It would what I'm saying is it would indicate that he's very smart if he graduated in 3 years.
That's not right. I
Yeah,
think
he'd be
Austin
the smartest
Kendall's a
person on
pretty
this
sharp
podcast.
kid, but probably not that smart. Maybe he is.
Maybe he is. But that, I mean, we never did ask why he was sitting in the stands at the Big 12 championship game last year.
Yeah, I guess we could ask that. I bet we'll be able to talk to him for the first time ever. Think about that.
Now, we've talked to him before. He talked to us, I want to say after they announced he would redshirt, or
Okay.
maybe before that. But we talked to him last fall
Okay.
because he was kind of a penis. He was, really defensive about
Yeah.
the stuff he got in trouble about the year before.
Okay. Couldn't remember. It'll be I don't know. I think they'll take it out all the way into 2-a-days though, Josh. I really do.
They have. I mean,
it makes the most sense. Yeah, and it's funny because I hadn't really stopped to think about it until that quote, or until I was listening to Lincoln. And unless it's just so obvious that you're hurting your team because you're clearly doing it for gamesmanship, then I think you have to keep it sounding interesting.
I will tell you this, and I can see why Lincoln is forced to do that. Like, even going back to when he redshirted and after he redshirted, his parents have been very, I want to say, inquisitive about where he stands, how good Kyler Murray is doing, things like that. Like, they're being very calculated about it. Like, they're ready, if need be, for him to jump somewhere else. I'm not saying they're actively planning it, but they've always, tried to be a step ahead in case he doesn't win the job. So they're a family that's prepared for him.
Like they're paying Friday night starters in the Big 12 to little chin music this spring.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying for their son, they're going to be ready
They're
if he
involved.
doesn't win the starting job. If he doesn't win the starting job, he is done. He's out.
You think?
If
even at the
and
beginning
when
of the
Kyler
season?
Murray is named the starter, he'll be gone.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Kyler Murray's named the starter at the end of 2-a-days next year. Does he just transfer then, or do you think he would finish out the season?
I bet he rides it out.
I think by then he's going to have a pretty good idea.
I think he'll have a
could
pretty good
see-
idea by the summer.
I could see him going to Lincoln Riley if it was pretty clear that Kyler was the guy and was going to. They would probably, the family, I would say, my guess would be, they would go to Lincoln Riley. Not that I've been told this.
Yeah.
Just the vibe that I get is they would go to Lincoln Riley and say, look, we really understand the gist of what's going on here. We think it'd just be better if we, parted ways and found another place where Austin could be a starter.
Yeah, that would not.
And then you got
there's
Tanner
plenty.
Mordecai and Tanner Schaefer.
There's plenty of places, back in North Carolina that he would be able to, NC State, Wake Forest, Duke, something like that. Don't you think?
I just realized it's Tanner and Tanner.
The Tanners.
Mordecai and Schaefer.
Don't forget about the Hody winner, Connor McGinnis.
Just concentrate on the holding. And the jean.
His
and the
last-
jean shorts.
His last hold got blocked. Always got to improve.
Okay, so the quarterback battle, everybody's gonna. It's always you lose Baker Mayfield. That's going to be a central focus.
It's really interesting too that I feel like this is the first spring in 20 years that the actual passing of the torch is getting ready to happen. Last year, I think, was just such a whirlwind with everything that happened in June and the way Stoops went out.
Yeah.
This is the first time, and with so many new faces, when you're looking for leadership, I don't know. I feel like this is the most interesting spring Oklahoma's had in 20 years.
I will say this: this offseason, and it was to be expected, but we're really getting to see Lincoln Riley kind of put his stamp on this team now.
Yeah.
Ruffin McNeil was the first one, and that was a pretty big rubber seal stamp. This is what I'm going to do. This is the direction I'm going as a coach. But when he got to hire that 10th assistant, and it wasn't just an elevated GA or a QC guy, that he was able to go out and make a hire like Shane Beamer, to me that says a lot, because you guys remember Bob Stoops, not that he treated special teams like an afterthought, but it took a really long time. Everybody was clamoring. You remember when everybody was clamoring for Bob to name a dedicated special teams coach?
Yeah, well,
because it was always piecemealed together.
It was like it started out very important in like '99 and 2000,
when
right
they
when
were
he started.
doing great in
and
special
then
teams.
It hit a lull, just like everything else with the program.
They had JT Thatcher returning kickoffs, and then they had Antonio Perkins. They got that kind of lull when they had Curtis. Why am I forgetting Fagan? And he would just like catch punts and do nothing.
Yeah.
And it was like, but you could kind of see Bob, like, at times if he had a really good team, special teams weren't that important. Like, big plays in special teams. He just wanted to play punt safe, down the kickoffs.
It was like after
give the ball to his offense and let his defense do their thing.
After the Mark Clayton incident in the Orange Bowl, is like, I just want you guys to catch the ball. Don't screw this up. Mark Bradley, yeah, excuse me. They just didn't want, don't F anything up. We'll get the ball to our offense, and we'll be fine.
Like, every once in a while, Bob would, like, put Adrian Peterson back on a kickoff return. Remember, DeMarco Murray returned early, and he got hurt and didn't play in 2008 because I think it was against
kick
Missouri in the
kick return.
Big 12 championship.
Yeah. Weren't they up by...
And remember the onside at Texas Tech when his kneecap got dislocated.
Yeah.
So it's like, I understood why Bob got, punt safe all the time and got rid of the fakes and stuff, because he had better teams than everybody else. And he just decided, you know what? We have the better offense than everybody. For the most part, we have better defense. Let's just use special teams to not screw things up.
And that's just the wrong way to look at it, isn't it?
Well, and I think that's what Lincoln Riley, his stamp on this thing now, hiring Shane Beamer, is we're going to be aggressive with special teams. We're going to do things differently. And I asked him about that at the press conference yesterday.
It's been a hot topic for us throughout the off season, both as a staff and them with the players. We know we got to be better there. I mean, that's the bottom line. And there's things as players that we have to do better. There's things as the head coach that I didn't do well enough, in the first year, as far as, making sure that you're giving special teams guys, enough time, making sure that you're helping with the overall organization, giving the guys that are working on the different teams enough tools to get done what they need to get done. And so I think we all looked at it and said, hey, we don't feel like we're really far off in any area, but we also feel like that, coaches, players, all of us, we all got to take a big step forward there. And so, yeah, bringing Shane in has been great for that. He and Jay have worked very well together. I think we've got a pretty good plan going forward of how we want to do it. We're going to test run a few things in the spring, and then certainly settle in going into the fall. But I feel great about it. I think we've got a team that's going to embrace it. I think being able to split those guys up where they can really focus in on a few areas and then also continue to make big contributions to us offensively was kind of the whole plan when we first thought about hiring Shane. And so I've been really happy with the progress, and it'll be a big point of emphasis during spring ball.
So, you now have a running backs coach and an H-backs coach, and their other jobs are special teams. Like, that's never happened at Oklahoma before, where you've had that much, two guys focus on special teams. And not to mention, his last name's Beamer, the other guy, one of them.
Yeah, I think that adds a couple points to it when you get the son of the godfather of special teams.
Beamer Ball, the son of Beamer Ball.
I just can't wait for the week that the father, Frank,
shows up
in Norman. They put out a picture, it gets retweeted 1 million times. It's gonna be awesome.
Just the retweets. Just gonna be swimming in retweets.
Yeah, just the presence. Switzer will probably be out there one day with them.
Maybe Bob will show up.
Oh, Bob will definitely show up. I don't know. Is it a matter of being lucky in some regard in the special teams department? Like blocking a kick, is that of course you got to make the play, but at some point isn't that kind of just luck as well? The other guy not executing.
I remember back in the day.
Like, how do you become a team that just blocks the shit out of everything?
We could watch practice, and OU ran these drills, and they used soccer balls, and they would kick field goals with soccer balls, and part of their practice was guys diving, like using certain technique to dive and tip the ball with their fingertips.
So I guess it is learned.
I mean, you work on it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they kept doing that over the years. I don't remember seeing soccer balls out there when we go out there. But I did ask Lincoln, like, okay, so you got all this special team stuff. You've got all this emphasis. What does that mean? Like, does that mean block kicks everywhere? Does that mean trick plays everywhere? What does it mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes people always associate, well, a good special teams like only blocks kicks or there's also being solid and sound too. There's that element, and I think there's going to be different situations throughout the year where you're going to have to be able to do both, where sometimes sound is the best thing to help us win this game. Sometimes being aggressive and making a big play is going to be the best thing to help us win this game. So just like on offense or defense, I think you have to be able to do both.
So, yeah, I mean, Josh, I don't know your thoughts on special teams and, you know, I mean, you've watched as much OU football as anybody and just kind of the decline of it being special, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember a lot of times this year where I thought, well, OU's just not handling the basic details. You know, obviously the Georgia block is a really good example. That was just poor by, if it was Drew Samia, if I remember right.
Yeah, it was.
And it was surprising when it happened. You're just like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, cause that's just I don't know about you guys, but I played a lot. I blocked a lot on special teams, man, and that's a basic maneuver. You're just stepping inside and making sure your inside shoulder's not vulnerable. It's a super.
He took the play off, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's something he's done 1,000 times, and it's not that he doesn't know that. He just didn't do it. So, but I didn't see a lot of that this year. And I thought that was kind of interesting by Riley to say that, because I know it's not how he means it, but it's going to be interpreted as, well, maybe we weren't always sound last year, and maybe there was things that I didn't see, and that he is a coach, knew what he was looking for, and I wasn't looking for him, and whatever. But there's no question that Oklahoma has had nothing in the return game since Alex Ross left. I mean, nothing. And whether it's kick return, punt return, whatever. They're not aggressive and blocking anymore. I mean, like, it looks like it's just about making sure there's no mistake on this set of plays that's going to cripple our team. And I get that, I do, but there are times when you've got to see something and take advantage of it. And you look back to the early Bob Stoops years, and I know everybody always goes back to that. It's not about being aggressive. It was about him always picking a good moment or finding a gap that nobody else saw and really taking advantage of it. The plays against Alabama where he got them in the special teams game. Some of that stuff, the play against Oklahoma State a couple years ago when Oklahoma State was clearly the better team of the two, and Oklahoma ran the fake, the fake field goal that who caught that? Grant Bothan caught.
No.
And
I guess Oklahoma
Michael
State.
Honeycutt caught it, didn't he?
Was it Bothan that threw it and Honeycutt caught it? Is that right?
Yeah.
I just remember somebody getting killed at the goal line.
It was Honeycutt.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, like, just being not only creative enough to do it, but aggressive enough to make that call that clearly could put you in harm's way. And like I said, I think it's great. I'm a huge Beamer ball guy. Like, I love all that stuff because I don't think there's anything that can shift the momentum of a game more than a big special teams play.
Well,
because offense, defense, you kind of know what you are. Special teams is a wild card where crazy stuff can happen.
And that was the thing. It's like, take like Iowa State last year for an example. Like sometimes you get into games with an opponent where maybe, some things go a certain way. All of a sudden you have a turnover when it's unexpected, and all of a sudden you're behind the 8 ball, and this other team that had no chance of beating you now has all the confidence of the world. Like, special teams is one of those things, if you do it right and you're great at special teams, like, those games don't end up getting a chance to develop. because you've made a big play on special teams, whether it's a kick return, a punt return, a turnover. You've done something to essentially affect a 14-point sway during a game. And sometimes early, if it happens early, that's when those games that could have been close turn into blowouts awfully fast. The crowd goes wild.
I thought Josh was going to say something.
No, I couldn't agree more, Carey. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Those are the kind of plays you can't write them into the script. You can't make them happen. You just have to see it and say, okay, in this situation, we could use that play. Let's try it. It's worth the risk. It's a situation where we can survive this if we're wrong. And like I said, I think that is the difference a lot of times between a win and a loss in those kind of games. Like you're talking about, the Iowa State game is a perfect example, Carey, because how lethargic did OU look for 3 quarters of that game? Even when they were winning, they didn't look that locked into it. What would a big return have done to change that whole stadium, the team, the crowd, everything about it? One big play, everybody's locked in and we're ready to go, and you may have a 7-point lead because of it. So
look at the special teams play in the college football playoff that OU never should have played in with the fake punt by Clemson, and how that changed the momentum of that game.
Completely changed it.
Hey, you got to respect the fat boy. You got to take care of the fat boy.
My little shot in at you.
I do think, though, that just it's interesting kind of to look at just the ways that Lincoln Riley is starting to put his stamp on the program. I mean, I think that special teams is one of them.
Recruiting was the very first thing that we noticed.
Yeah, and it, to a large part, I think will all go kind of hand in hand, because you do have better players on campus right now than they've had in a while, I think, as a whole. Is that crazy?
Maybe. Defensively,
from a talent standpoint?
I think defensively, yes. And I think Caleb Kelly being that 5-star that came in, even though he's been, I think at this point you'd have to say, a little disappointing. He's not an All-American, which I thought he, going into his 3rd year, he should be, based on how good he was in high school, you would have thought people would have been talking about him as a top 10 pick.
How much did
exactly?
How
he
much
thought
did
he'd
the
be
shoulder
facing a choice at the end of this year?
How much did that shoulder hurt him last year, or I guess limit him?
I just think being as multiple as they are, and him playing a position that can be taken off the field.
Yeah,
that's what
telling.
It is with him more than anything.
Yeah.
Because I'm not, like, when he's on the field and he's in a role that suits him, that guy makes a lot of plays, in my opinion. But the problem is like Carey said, he can so easily be factored out of the game.
Right.
I just think he has to be a Will or a Mike. Really, I'd go with Mike. But I think there's some people concerned about whether he really likes to stick his nose in the middle of things.
It's a different breed of cat. I mean, I do think that Kenneth Murray does. And I know that there's a lot of people that weren't happy with him at middle linebacker last year, but I think the experience that he gained, he will
give up his body.
He's a dog
to make a play.
I think he's a dog.
Kenneth Murray, you mentioned, and it's interesting we're having this conversation because I did ask Lincoln Riley if there's any chance that Kenneth Murray could make a move from middle linebacker to another position. Josh, we'll let you translate exactly what you hear from Lincoln Riley, because he says a lot of stuff, and he kind of backpedals a little, and then he kind of, I don't. It was strange.
It's the middle, somewhere in the middle.
Yes, you tell us, Josh. You translate after we play this.
All right, I'm interested.
It'd be interesting to see. I mean, certainly our initial plan will be him staying at Mike. He had a good, a full season of that. Learned so much and got so much better throughout the year. But he does bring a skill set that, could allow for potential changes if that's what made sense for the team. So you love having those guys that you're very happy if they stay at their position, but if it works out better that we need him somewhere else even more, that he can physically and now mentally go handle that. I mean, once you've played Mike, it's kind of like playing quarterback. You got to know what everybody's doing. And so if he had to make a move now, I think he would, be able to do it pretty quickly. So he gives us some versatility, but right now he's definitely penciled in at Mike.
And again, he was your freshman All-American middle linebacker, and you start out answering that question with, it'll be interesting to see.
That screams to me, we want someone else to come in and take this job.
Like Deshaun White?
Whoever, like someone, even if it's, Levi Draper coming along, or they feel like John Michael Terry can step into that role.
He did go out of his way to talk about Levi Draper.
He what now?
Did kind of go out of his way to mention Levi Draper.
Did he? Interesting.
I wouldn't say go out of his way, but it was like he was more than willing to bring him up.
I loved Levi. I loved watching Levi play at Collinsville. That state championship game, his junior year.
Yeah, was that UConn?
That was his senior.
No, it was junior year.
Was it his
junior year against Altus?
Yeah, against Altus. I mean, they lost the game, but he was unbelievable. That was like one of those times that's like, that's the guy that's committed to Oklahoma. That's a linebacker that's committed to Oklahoma. He's a playmaker.
He basically willed them back into that game.
Yeah, he had an interception that he caught with one hand and stayed in bounds somehow. And that was against a team that ran the option. So, I mean, he was all over the field that night.
He just has to get bigger.
Yeah.
Which he's doing.
I think he will. He has a body that will allow him to get bigger. Don't you think, Josh?
That was the thing, Eddie. It's always so funny because we always get into these things where we're like, oh, that guy looks great. And every time you and I, for 2 or 3 years in a row, went to Collinsville and watched a practice in the spring.
Yeah.
And I remember every year, like, God, he looks good. God, he looks good. And he just kept getting bigger and bigger. And I remember thinking he's a big enough guy, he might be able to play year one. Then I saw him at the U.S. Army Bowl standing next to Jacob Phillips. And you were just like, holy crap, he looks like a little kid compared to Jacob. Like, he was just so much smaller. And you knew, okay, he needs a year to redshirt. But Levi's a good athlete. He's a good player. There's every reason to think he can be a player for Oklahoma. But to get back to it, I mean, the way I heard that quote was, if there's no other reason for something to change, Kenneth Murray will start at Mike for us. But if we can find someone to take that job, we know he's probably this is me reading a little bit into it, but we know he's probably better suited to be a will linebacker that's chasing stuff down.
Yeah. That's kind of how I felt about it too.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I mean, and I totally agree. I mean, you can't move the guy who had, for everybody else that wants to bag on Kenneth Murray, for a freshman that had literally never played the position before, it's not nearly as bad as what you think it was.
Like, let's be clear. If the Georgia game had not happened like it did, people wouldn't bag on him as much as they do.
That's totally fair. It was and it hurts even more that it's the last memory they have.
It was a bad game.
Had a bad game.
But everybody on defense had a bad game. He just happened to be the guy that was more responsible than anybody else for their run game, besides the defensive lineman.
I think that experience that he gained too, and as much as like Obo talked about him being a guy that is just a film junkie, I think that just playing the entire year last year and learning the position, he is going to be.
I'll say this. I mean, watch it. One thing that I think Sooner fans should take from that game is you look on OU's side with Kenneth Murray. You look on the other side with the best linebacker in college football in Roquan Smith. For a freshman and a junior, was Roquan a junior?
Yeah.
He declared,
Came
right?
out, yeah.
I mean, that's 2 years difference, but that's a leap I could see Kenneth Murray making by the time he's done at Oklahoma. And I wouldn't say that about Jordan Evans, Dominic Alexander. I wouldn't say that about any linebacker in the last 5-8 years.
Oh, I think just physically, he is a big enough guy and runs well, being that big. It's been years since Oklahoma's had a guy like that. I feel
he's got a chance to be really good.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not a slight at Jordan Evans, but I mean, I think
Jordan Evans is just a different kind of player. I mean, he was a converted. I mean, they're all converted because the way they recruited. And maybe this is a Deshaun White deal. I mean, maybe maybe it's a Levi Draper deal too.
Yeah.
So
it'll be interesting. That's why I'm saying there are so many question marks. Like I usually kind of shit on spring football and don't really think you can learn a whole lot out of it. I think there's going to be
such a turn the page spring.
I think it's the most interesting spring in 20 years.
Obviously, quarterback's what we're all going to want to see, and I get that. For you guys, though, what's that next position? I mean, for me, it's
Safety.
defensive back. I think the secondary is really interesting to follow.
Robert Barnes, Khalil Houghton,
Chance
Buki, what he
Sylvie.
do, Chance Sylvie.
You get to see
Can those-
Buki for the first
can those guys
Buki
step up,
for the first time.
I still feel like Parnell Motley, Jordan Parker are your corners.
Yeah. They're
With Trey Brown getting a
cornerback is
really good
deep.
shot.
Maybe it's just because I love the kid, but I think Justin Burrows is going to be a player somehow, some way.
I hope so.
Like, I think he's that type
His
of leadership
family
guy.
is so all in for OU.
Oh yeah,
You want to see good things happen for people like
he's
that.
a lot like, and it might just be because you develop relationships with these kids and they're in state, but just his personality kind of reminds me a little bit of Stephen Parker, just in that. And Justin's probably a little bit more outgoing than Stephen was at this time, but
Hopefully he stays healthy.
They kind of remind me of each other, just as far as just solid guys, and I kind of like cheering for him.
Yeah, and he never really got a fair shot at it just because he wasn't healthy last year.
Yeah.
For me, Broyles is almost like Stephen Parker and Eric Stryker had a child.
Yeah,
and that's like
I can
he's
see that.
somewhere right between those two because he's way more ramped up than Stephen is.
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about, Eddie, like a really solid, and not that Eric's not, but I mean, we knew Stephen really well. We knew what a grounded kid he was. But he's got that mouth that just keeps going, and you never heard Stephen talk like Justin talks.
Yeah. No, that's true. He can talk for both of them, that's for sure.
For sure.
One thing that still hasn't been announced, and Lincoln didn't give us any details, but he didn't mention that they've been working hard behind the scenes on all the festivities for the spring game. I know, Gabe Eichert had told me about something a while ago, and he put out a tweet showing the invitation that they sent out for it. But they're having a big, like a fundraiser dinner for Bob Stoops the Friday night before the game, and then they're
Has
going
Bob been living so large he needs a fundraiser?
Well, no, it's for the university. Raise money for the
Okay.
student
I was like, wow, Bob's really burning through all that. Okay, got it.
An evening with Bob Stoops. So that's going to go on, but of course that's not really putting 80,000 butts in the seats. I would imagine there'll be, I don't know, I haven't heard that there'll be a statue dedication, but that's got to be coming soon. And what more, I mean, if Bob's going to be in town, why not do it Saturday?
I would have to think that, I mean, the way that they're building this up, I don't know. I don't know if I expect some type of music, but I definitely think the Jordan brand is going to be front and center somehow, some way.
Like maybe Michael Jordan will come in?
Yeah. Like I think there's going to be something because they want to appeal to the recruits that are in town. Like I don't know what the going rate on the street for Migos to come perform it.
Oh, it's over $1 million.
Is
probably
it?
$2 million.
Maybe they can settle for Future.
Just get Guavo. I know there's Guavo. There's 3 Migos.
Yeah.
I know this much. I'm not cool, but I know there's Guavo. There's God dang it, I used to know 2 of them at least. Offset's the other one I couldn't think of.
And
I don't know.
Takeoff.
Takeoff is the 3rd.
Yeah, I just had to look it up. But
Okay, I'm glad that you're not that cool.
yeah,
and I'm not that cool.
I'm definitely not.
Carey, when you said 3 Migos, how many people were like, which one is Steve Martin? I don't even know.
3 Migos.
That's exactly like I heard it and I was like, somebody thinks we're talking about Martin Short.
All of our white listeners.
Maybe they could afford Chance the Rapper.
That would be legit. I don't think that they can, but that would be awesome. They're going to do something. I don't know if
Chance
it's
the
going to be
Rapper's got
music.
no problem, right?
The what?
Chance the Rapper's no problem, right? You don't no problem
Yeah,
with me.
yeah.
I'm thinking Tyler the Creator's probably more. You could get him. Chance the Rapper's going to be too expensive. Although he gives a lot of stuff to charity.
Maybe they can make it into a charity thing. Maybe they can wrap Grow You into it somehow.
We're doing stuff on Grow You.
I know. I think it kind of goes
I'm doing a story on it.
It
right
kind of
now.
goes into what part of the leadership thing. I think that is kind of cultivating it.
Well, first off, let me play this clip from Lincoln because this is him talking about the spring game yesterday.
And then again, very excited about the spring game. We've been knee deep in the planning phases the last several weeks. I think we're close to making public some of the plans that we have for our spring game, but not quite ready yet. But we've got some really cool things that I think our fan base is going to be excited about. There's going to be some definite changes to just about every part of the spring game that I think are going to make it even better. And like I've said, it's still just such a huge weekend for us recruiting-wise that, the University of Oklahoma, our football program, our fan support, being able to put all our best foot forward that day, April the 14th, is going to be just incredibly important for the future of this program. And so, again, like I've said, I know we got a job to do, and we've been working hard behind the scenes to create something that everybody's going to be really proud and excited about. And I'm very confident that our fans, Sooner Nation, will respond the way that we know they will.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Steve Miller Band.
Boom.
I can just see Eddie playing air guitar to Jet Airliner over on the side.
No, that will not be happening. But it might be happening. If Tiger wins the week before, I'll probably do anything. Or I should say win.
I think, Eddie, I don't think you're allowed to be down on this red and white game because you're getting your dream.
Yeah, it's not Masters weekend. It's
what would be
the best decision he's ever made.
Like, seriously, what's like a cheap band that you would be behind that's like maybe kitschy, like a boy band maybe?
No, they can't do that.
You could probably get 98 Degrees.
No.
They only have 3 songs though.
Well, I mean, that'd be pretty cool. Nick Lachey, hitting up Campus Corner. He would leave Norman with a sexual assault charge. There's no doubt about that.
He's married to Vanessa, what's her name?
It doesn't mean that he doesn't philander around. I don't know what they can do, but I know that it involves making a party. I wrote that in the round table, and I firmly believe that you need all of the fraternities and students to be involved somehow.
Just open Darty.
Yes, like that would be awesome. People just partying over in the South Oval.
What if they got El Presidente to show up?
That'd be awesome, but I feel like I don't think Dave would be coming to each spring game. I feel like
they
that's
paid
a little below him.
He probably would.
I don't know. He's a millionaire
on paper, and that paper is bad right now.
I really don't know. I don't think that it's going to be anything crazy though. Like I don't think that.
You think it's being oversold a little bit?
Maybe a little bit. Like I just don't know what they can do to make a spring game.
Lincoln is saying, "Look, this is going to be the biggest recruiting weekend that we have now on this current calendar."
Yeah,
and you people don't realize it, but I'm telling you, you need to be here because this is the biggest impression you're going to make.
Absolutely,
on these kids.
I think that's basically what they're trying to build up to, and I agree with it. I mean, it is a big weekend, especially with all the official visits.
It's a little bit of a risk too, don't you think, Josh?
It is, especially the oversell, because you're going to get fans all wired up, and then, like you said, and we welcome the Steve Miller Band. Okay, there's certainly
They deserve to go 7-5 if they brought the Steve Miller Band. He'll be at Zoo Amphitheater for his yearly show in June.
Please welcome Kansas.
What would be, something I don't understand? It seems like nobody does this. Why do spring games have to be during the day?
You know who's doing theirs at night?
Who?
They just announced it. Texas.
A&M or Texas?
University of Texas. It's like a 6:30 kickoff. It's a great idea.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Like, why does it have to be during the day? It's hot as hell. Like, I don't ever understand that at all. Like, have it at night.
Fox Sports
you can do
TV
fireworks.
window.
You can do a whole thing afterwards.
It's the Fox Sports TV window.
Well, screw Fox Sports TV.
Well, the Longhorn Network can do whatever it wants because they have shitty program on there all the time.
Yeah, well, there's only so many times you can replay the Rose Bowl.
We're playing it at night. If you want to put it on TV, put it on TV. If not, screw yourself. They should be able to carry that.
It's a major part of their broadcast package, though, with Fox Sports.
I don't know. I agree though, Josh. I think that going at night would be awesome because then you can really throw the game day atmosphere in there with people tailgating, people coming in. You could even do shit during the afternoon, like because it's a busy weekend. OU plays Texas. OU plays Texas in baseball that night at 8:00.
Yeah, on
April 14th. Softball's in town that weekend. So I think that they are trying to make it into like a big weekend down here. It just, I don't know.
So you could do like a 6 o'clock kick and then just straight from.
Oh, they could have played the baseball game at noon.
Yeah.
You know, I want to say that this is stupid. Just this constant debating about what to do about the spring game. But I'd rather do this than talk about NCAA tournament seedings.
Oh, yeah. Any more than 30 minutes on that.
Or Western Conference standings talk.
Yeah, or predicted draft, NFL drafts.
Yeah, mock draft.
Mock draft.
Oh, I can talk those all day. The other stuff I'm with you on.
Mock draft, yeah.
It will be an interesting Sunday down in Norman. I think there's going to be some sweaty palms, especially if teams like Alabama keep winning.
And I think they're going to have their big banquet and stuff, too.
They do every year.
It's going to have the old biddies out there. Walter, are they going to make it?
We're proud of you either way.
We still love you, boys.
That's the soft world we live in. No one's proud of you.
Those people have always existed since the beginning of time.
I know, but
we love you no matter what.
Quickly eliminating them. By we I mean
you're not
the life, the world.
You mean Father Time?
Father Time. That's correct.
You're not reinventing the wheel. Those people are going to be there. Your generation.
Well, they're usually just over at Sherry's house.
They will turn into those people too.
They'll soften.
Yep. It just happens, Eddie.
You know, the only thing that can save people like that, Eddie, are close friends like you. Scream at them and tell them how wrong they are about their softness.
That's true.
They need someone they know to tell them they're wrong. It doesn't matter if it's some idiot on, a podcast.
I'll go door to door if I have to.
What do you think? What do you think the age you will be at the last time you shotgun a Natty Light?
I don't know. Probably until my body shuts down.
So in your 50s, you could still see yourself.
Yeah, easily.
Dude, I'm a father of 2, and I would crush one right now.
Right now at 3:08 on a Friday?
Not a problem.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Josh, Scoop came out today. Any nuggets or tidbits you want to throw out there?
Well, it was kind of an up and down scoop because there were several, I really wanted to check in with some guys that we hadn't heard from in a while. And you got a lot. It was kind of a mixed bag. I think one of the guys that really hasn't gotten a lot of attention so far is a guy named Josh Sanguinetti out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Rivals 100 guy. Tons of offers, but there's been some buzz with him in Oklahoma for a while now, and so I finally checked in with him. He told me he'll be coming up this spring. He's not sure when, but he's going to use it. He's going to do it unofficially. So I mean, to me that's good for Oklahoma because A, he's willing to pay his way up there, and B, you still have the availability maybe to bring him in for an official during the season. So that speaks well for Oklahoma. I think one of the guys that really has kind of flown under the radar for OU fans, but a guy that OU people need to know is a big priority for OU is DeMarvin Leal, the defensive lineman from Converse Judson. Another guy that I'm told will be up for the spring game. I don't know yet if it's going to be an official visit or an unofficial visit, but he is a guy that, from what I can gather, Oklahoma is really high on him, really wants him to make it to campus. And if he can get up there and take that trip, then I think maybe things start moving because you look back, there are a few schools over the last 20 years that have done a better job recruiting and developing San Antonio area players. So Oklahoma has a lot of good relationships down there, and I think that can, grow from, or that they can be helped from that with a guy like him from Judson, from Converse, which is kind of a San Antonio suburb. So it was a little bit of an up and down scoop. There's some downer news in there. There's a longtime defensive line offer, a guy that made the trip to Norman during last summer. He made the trip to Norman the exact same day that Bob Stoops stepped down. So kind of a weird trip for him. He went out there with Bob Stoops, the head coach. He came back as Lincoln Riley as the head coach. So there's a lot to kind of follow in this week's scoop. But I mean, for a quiet week, I mean, there was quite a bit of news in there. Like I said, of visitors, guys coming in, and guys that frankly are just starting to lose contact with OU.
All right.
Any just real quick before we get out of here, could be some real news, I guess, at left tackle this over the weekend with Calvin Anderson. Josh, any inkling on I guess on which way he's leaning? I know that is kind of the $1 million question.
Yeah, you're
into
actually
Saturday.
in the middle of this one, Josh. You're not out of touch like you are with the rest of recruiting.
Thank goodness I'm in Houston, and I know I know the guy's favorite eateries, so I can go check those out, see if I've run into him. When he announced on, I guess that was Tuesday night, maybe Wednesday night, that he announced to announce on Saturday, which kind of surprised me after talking to Calvin. I thought he would just kind of come out, say it, and be done with it. He's expected to announce his decision tomorrow. I had heard at that same point that he was going to call a couple of staffs, including Oklahoma, on Friday. Now, to my knowledge so far, that has not happened. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if that's a good sign for OU, that they're going to get word early, or what, and I say a couple of staffs. The only staff I know he was supposed to call on today was Oklahoma. Now, I can't say that he wasn't going to call all three of the schools, but I can just say I know I had heard that Oklahoma would get a call on Friday. So in checking with some sources today, even during the pod, I've kind of been checking with some people. I haven't heard any movement. I haven't heard any change. I don't think that he's had any conversations with anybody yet. But I still am betting on Texas, but I still believe Oklahoma is a true contender in this thing.
Be very interesting. I think that kind of just his decision alone will change the landscape of
whether Bobby Evans moves, whether Adrian Ely,
Drew Samia move out to right
Samia can
tackle.
move. Yeah, Lincoln talked about that a little bit yesterday.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens.
What would be interesting is, say he picks Oklahoma tomorrow. Does Oklahoma immediately start working Bobby Evans at left? I mean, I'm sorry, he doesn't pick Oklahoma tomorrow. Do they immediately start moving Bobby Evans to left?
I think their plan was to play him some there no matter what.
Yeah, I think he might be over
because
at
I
left
think
anyways.
Bill Beadenbow, he loves playing B, C, D.
Oh, sure.
I think Bobby Evans, he's played there for 2 years. I think he'd work him at left and IL. I mean, I think it could be a situation where Calvin Anderson is fighting for a job with Bobby Evans before it's all said and done.
Wouldn't that be something?
And then if whoever doesn't win it, maybe goes to right tackle.
Somewhere Bill Beadenbow is pissed at Carey for that comment. 24 hours before he announces Carey, you're going to say he's going to be fighting for a job?
That's all right. I heard Bill tore his bicep, so he can't do anything to me.
12-ounce girls.
Stay to his left. I got you.
I'm going to see him at the wedding this weekend. So.
Oh yeah, he'll be there.
Yeah.
Big wedding weekend for Carey. I had mine last weekend, and Carey has yours
weddings
this weekend.
Are so stupid expensive.
Karen, when's the last time you were in a wedding?
I'm not in this wedding.
Oh, I thought you were. Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, but I was the best man at my best friend's wedding back in. This would have been over 10 years ago.
56.
Yeah. See, it's approaching those levels for me. Like, I was in a ton of weddings.
Kill you, Eddie.
Yeah, I've done my fair share of.
Between the gifts and the bachelor party and the destination bachelor party and then the got to buy a new suit because it's been so long.
Just look at the light at the end of the tunnel. You get a club special on Saturday night.
We get some booze
lot of
tonight.
club specials.
I better be an open bar.
I imagine it probably will be.
With the families involved?
Yeah, I would think so.
That would be a for shame moment if
at
not.
the club, though.
But congratulations.
It's the best drink in the entire world.
To our boy Gay Biker, who probably has been as good to Sooner Scoop as any player at the history of OU football.
Yeah, for sure.
He's always been a friend of the Scoop.
Maybe someday we could get him on the podcast.
He'd come on anytime. Yeah. He's got to go to Maui for a while, though.
Is that where they're headed out after?
I think so.
Afterwards?
Yeah. To the villa.
Yes,
we need to have him and Jared on, and they can just read the text messages they send you.
Oh, trust me, they want to do a podcast. Just the three of us. It's usually if Jared is really pissed off about something that's happened in OU football, he wants to do a podcast immediately.
He would have been great.
He wants you to call him then and start recording.
He would have been great on the Lost podcast after Iowa State.
We've tried to hook him up through Skype, but we've just never figured it out. Because I think he's using like Skype for Business, or I think he downloaded the wrong app. Because he's like, I'm Jared 1734589. I'm like, I can't find you. We can't find each other. Anyway, it's a big mess. So I'm very excited. First practice tomorrow. I've got new camera gear too. Excited to go take some pictures.
Carey with his nerd boner.
Can't wait to get up and do that on a Saturday.
You want to hear
morning.
how fast the pictures can be taken with this?
Oh, God. No one wants to hear that.
I think everyone wants to hear
People have stopped listening.
That's not good.
It took me a second to realize you were actually clicking the camera. That's beautiful.
Picture. Eddie, open that window. Give me some light. Oh. Yeah, just do that. Okay, here we go. Well, this is not good. Hold on.
This is the shit we deal with, people.
Eddie, move out of the way.
People listening, you cannot understand how hard Carey nerds out over video and camera equipment. It is
because I got the lens cap on. That's what's going on.
Oh, are you shitting me with all the stuff I get about my technology issues? And listen, some of them are fair.
Listen how fast this is. Huh. Those are pictures.
It's without pump action, too.
I don't even know. All I can hear is I'm like, I think that just filled my whole memory card. I got to get a new damn card.
It's going to be awesome.
Oh, God.
Speaking of pictures, Josh.
My credit card.
Can't wait to see Putnam North take a picture with the gold ball over the weekend.
Son of a. We had to go out in the first round. Hey, our girls are bringing home a gold ball. Thank you kindly.
Is West not still in it? Seriously?
No, they got knocked out in the first round. Yeah,
yesterday?
Santa Fe beat them.
Pussy.
So, yeah. Has North played the semis yet?
No, they play at 4:30 today against Norman North.
Okay. So as everybody's listening, yes, they've already played. Yeah, well, roll Pats roll in the 6A women's finals. We're going to take it down right there.
Yeah, no one really cares.
Yeah.
Oh,
podcast is officially dead now. All right, boys. I appreciate it. Yep. It's been fun. We'll have actual practices to talk about coming up on the next podcast. Lots more to come with recruiting. As Josh said, it's been kind of up and down slow. But go check out the Sooner Scoop. It is released today. We got another edition of the Roundtable coming out this weekend as well. Want you guys to make sure you check that out. But go subscribe. Sign up. That's our new swipe up.
Yeah, swipe up. Sign up, swipe up.
Sign up. So we know that there's a reason why we keep doing
subscribe,
these podcasts.
Unsubscribe, resubscribe.
I don't know about that.
Whatever.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week once again for another edition of the Unofficial 40 right here on Soonerscoop.com.
Podcasts from Soonerscoop.com.